What's good, everybody? Thank you so much for tuning in to the Writer's Room. This is my reaction and review to Power Book 4's episode 2, Great Consequences. And this is episode 2 of season 2, you already know. But this episode was really good. I don't know which episode was better. Put down in the comments below which episode you feeling. But we start off the episode with Lieutenant. I love how the cinematography starts off the episode with the lieutenant looking in blood, and then it ends off the episode with the same reflection. With that being said, this is a very pivotal episode within season 2. We start off with Lieutenant, like I said, looking in the reflection in the blood of Chewie. Chewie got, unalived by Tommy, but we knew that was coming, and yes, I did enjoy it. Now, the lieutenant actually put Officer Nelson in check when he was talking about these people and what do these people know, why do they act like this, and Lieutenant let him know you would be so much better at your job and it could actually solve a crime if you immersed yourself within the community. You could actually find out the reasons why people act the way that they act within the community at times like this. Now, when he's talking to Officer Nelson, he does see a man in the back that looks like he kind of knows what's going on, but I'm gonna mind my business from afar. Now, this man immediately cuts off the lieutenant and is like, I don't want to talk. I am not a snitch, but everybody's a snitch when they have the right piece of paper. So after letting go a little bit more change, the lieutenant does get some information from this man, and it is found that CBI actually split, which of course we as the audience know, but this is the first time the lieutenant is hearing about this. This man basically tells him that Chewie committed treason, and so he was dealt with in proper CBI manner. Now, Lieutenant is completely stunned by this news, but he's gonna bring it back to your girl Stacy. Now, in the next scene, we see that Tommy catches Diamond getting his freak on, and it seems like this episode was real filled with it, okay? But anyways, yes, Tommy catches Diamond, and when the girl leaves, they start discussing what happened with Chewie. And of course, Diamond did not like this. He was not happy with Tommy with this because he told Tommy, we do not want to start a war, but of course, Tommy did not listen. And honestly, I do think it was a good idea to, reinforce your power on the streets. Now, cutting to Jannard and his crew, Jannard goes to his people and lets them know that Chewie is now unalived and we gotta avenge his death. And of course, everybody's lit, everybody's turned up like, oh, it's on sight. I do think that we got to keep an eye out for Jannard and his crew because Jannard is really rolling the dice right now, and I don't know how it's going to shake for him. Now, in the next scene, Tommy catches your boy Vic slipping at the graveyard, and Vic is down real bad, but we knew that since the last episode that Vic was really going through it over Gloria's death, and Tommy is basically coming to meddle, but most of all, Tommy is coming to find out who took out Liliana. I know it was one of the Flynn's, and I know that you know. Now, you could tell by Vic that Vic knows what happened. Of course, Tommy did threaten him like, I'm going to do this either way it goes. I'm going to find out who took out Liliana, and when I do, they're gonna pay. Now, in the next scene, we have Walter going to visit some old rich capitalist friends, and the capitalists are actually leaders over a pharma company. He told Walter that they created some opioids, but the opioids were way too strong and they were taking out people. He needs Walter to push this out on the streets and sell it, basically get his money back, get his return. Walter has no choice. He does not want to do this. When was the last time that we found Walter pushing pills? It's just not like him. But he has no choice because he's running low on money, and he obliges this man and makes the deal with the pharmaceutical company. So Walter is trying to get business flowing again. Speaking of Walter and the Flynn's, we have Claudia. She's using her wits and charm to get ahead of the game and talk to one of Walter's closest allies and confidants within the organization, and he ends up giving her some intel, basically saying that Walter is really losing control of his money, and before you know it, there will be no Flynn organization left to try to fight over. Now, in the next scene, we have Diamond going to visit his brother, and he goes to visit Jannard, and you can see that Jannard's people is not letting up off of Diamond. They being cool on him right now, but they want Tommy bad. But Diamond goes to visit Jannard because he's basically telling him to fall back, that he doesn't want a war. Diamond knows that Jannard has financial problems, problems as well as other problems, and basically is like, you don't want this because you can't handle this type of war right now. Now, we knew this was going to happen. We knew that Walter was going to come to Vic for this proposal of selling these pills. And Vic is still crying over Gloria. You know, that was the love of his life, and his dad was behind her murder. So Vic is not really a fan of his dad right now, and his dad is coming with this proposal. Vic did decline the offer, which we show Walter later on bringing the proposal over to Claudia for her to accept, even though he really does not want her to accept it. He doesn't want a woman ruling over his organization, point blank and period. Now, while Diamond is having fun, chatting it up at the barber shop, we see that his parole officer comes in, and Diamond thinks it's just another customer. No, it is your parole officer. And of course, this has him shook because Tommy comes in and is like, we have a 12 o'clock appointment to go to our meeting. He definitely emphasized that meeting. I don't know if he was supposed to be hiding from the parole officer, but it did not go down as inconspicuous as he thought it did. We see that Diamond told Tommy to go on to the meeting without him. We know that Miguel does not trust Tommy, so it's going to be interesting seeing in the next scene what happens. Shifting gears over to the other brother, Jannard is with his team, and they come in and they're really hyped up, like, we ready. Jannard lets them know, hey, we're gonna put a pause on Tommy because Jannard got other things at hand. His crew did not like that, and they started to really resent him as the leader. At the end of the scene, Jannard does end up getting a text message from Miguel saying to be on time, 9 o'clock sharp, and not a second later. This is just another thing added on to Jannard's list of people and list of things that he has to complete before the day is up. Now, I did tell you earlier that Walter was going to bring this proposal over to Claudia since Vic was so hesitant about it, and Walter was kind of intrigued that Claudia did go through with this Dahlia business, that she was the one behind it, and he was, I guess he hates to admit it, but he was impressed by it. So he decided that when Vic declined the offer, that maybe he can bring it to Claudia. At the end of the day, he is desperate right now. But I think in the conversation, just the way that Claudia was acting, it really turned him off. And of course, we know that Walter did what Walter always does, and it is go against Claudia later on in the episode. Now, we see Tommy pulling up to Miguel's spot to bring him that money. Of course, this is the meeting that him and Diamond were supposed to go to together. Miguel is looking like, hold up, where is Diamond at? But in the midst of this exchange, we see that there is a drive-by, and everybody is caught off guard, even your boy Miguel. This episode was just not a good look for him. I mean, he went from last episode really being Jefe to being sunned by everybody, including his own grandma. Now, I do love the development of Miguel and how they created this really macho man in the first episode. And in this episode, you are starting to see the layer peel back on Miguel. He's a family man. He's family oriented. At the end of the day, his whole end goal is protecting his family. And that's what means the most to Miguel. So I definitely think that that is going to be a weakness for him. Every time we see Miguel, there's a weakness added on. And in the last episode, it was his diabetes. And this time we learned that Miguel's family is his Achilles heel. And in the middle of this shootout, we see our main character, our protagonist, Tommy, get hit. I knew this was not going to be anything fatal because it's Tommy's universe and we're only on season 2, but it did still sting like, oh my gosh, this is the first time that Tommy got, at least from what I can remember. But Miguel does build up a trust because Tommy held it down. He did not run away. He did not flake. So Miguel is starting to have a little bit of trust in Tommy. He brings him back in. Once they're inside and Tommy is with Maria getting treated, we see that Jefe, aka Miguel, is having a talk with one of his henchmen. Tommy can be useful to him because he is dangerous, but most importantly, he has nothing to lose, which means he adds value, and that intrigues Miguel. And I think that is going to be his downfall, is that loyalty is everything to Miguel. Loyalty and family. Tommy just showed up for Miguel when Miguel's back was turned, and he could have lost his life if Tommy was not there to cover his back. Before he leaves, we do see Grandma. Grandma looks like she is the one that is in charge of this organization and maybe handed it down to Miguel as she got older, but she is the true queen pin of this organization because she looked Tommy up and down like, I don't trust you. When Tommy tried to holler at her and was being, Tommy, she shot him down and she let Miguel know, do not trust this man. Of course, we'll get to that conversation a little bit later. We briefly go back to the police department where Stacy is, and Stacy has had it up to here because she is trying to get the task force on the job of hunting down Tommy, but they're basically saying we will not give you extra people to go around this and cause more trouble. We need to hear more trouble going on in the Chi before we end up cracking down and putting a task force on the streets. We knew this conversation was going to be had, and we knew this relationship was not going to last for long. The business relationship between Claudia and Vic was severed as soon as Claudia mentioned Gloria's name, and that Vic did not protect her even when running away. That was such a low blow. Claudia has been losing it. She's acting just like her dad, but Vic eventually walked away from the conversation before things got too heated. Now we get to where Miguel is being sunned again. Miguel, we learned, like I said earlier, that his grandma is the queen pin, and she wants to know who Tommy is and why do you trust him? Do not trust him. He can't be trusted. And we know later on that Tommy is not to be trusted when it comes to Miguel. Tommy is out for self right now. So Miguel's grandma is totally 100% right in this regard. We see Shanti is back, and we know that she is the girl to go to with training and boxing, but I think she uses this training and this gym as a means to connect and communicate with her crew. We know that Jannard's team is not really backing him in his decision making. She's going to warn him because that's basically what his team was saying, that hey, we don't want to work for somebody like Jannard. You need to fix it. So Shanti got to do what she got to do when she talked to Jannard next. So we transition over to Diamond and Tommy. And Tommy, as I stated earlier, he is all for self. He said while he was down, Miguel and them were talking big business around him, thinking that he was completely out and unconscious, when Tommy heard the whole time that there's a drop tonight and he wants to take over it and make it seem like the Serbs did it so that he can start a war between them and ultimately take over the plug and the connection in the Chi. This was a very elaborate plan that really seemed to work. Vic in the last moments of this episode was completely losing control, and you can tell that this was his breaking point after Gloria. I mean, he's in the closet right now getting some brain, and the owner of the store tried to get them out, and Vic completely lost it on him and pulled out a gun and robbed him, and even decided to tip old girl at the store. Now in this scene, I think your boy Vic thought that he had the white power of invincibility. He was really about to take out his wallet and try to pay off these cops for stopping him because he is swerving in the road. Like I said, he's slowly losing it and spinning out of control. He is drunk, and of course he was going to get stopped by the police, especially after the robbery happened in the store. So we transition over to Miguel, and remember in the kitchen, Miguel's grandma did tell him to holler at his plug to see what can be done about the Serbs, and Miguel goes to holler at him, but it does not go as planned. He questions his boss, and the plug is basically telling him, we're not going to do nothing because you're going to ruin my whole major pipeline to the connect. Miguel does not like to hear this because he's been getting sunned a lot, and he does not want his crew looking at him funny the way Jannard's crew is. Now when the boss heard this, he told him, your sister, your beautiful sister, she's gonna get handled. You play with me and my money if you want to. So Miguel is looking like Jannard at this point. Speaking of Jannard, we see him in the next scene, and he is looking like this is the last blunt that he will ever hit. The Serbs come in and they are like, you are going to pay us, and you're going to continue to pay us until we get our territory that you promised to me, or we know what's gonna happen. So his boy is looking like we kind of short on money. Jannard obliges and still gives the Serbs the money. Mind you, he has to pay Miguel later on. So it's not looking good for Jannard, especially Miguel right now is irritated after what just happened. So Jannard got to step carefully. I was confused in this next scene because this cop came out of nowhere, and I was like, okay, did Diamond mess up? Did he not pass his urine test from earlier? And we find out later that this is his CO from when he was in prison. I guess they are still smashing, and she's on that stuff. She did offer Diamond some, and he does not get down like that, but he did look kind of intrigued. So I'm interested to see where Diamond and the CO is going to be later on. Diamond does get a text from Tommy saying that the plan is on. Pretend to be the Serbs and take out Miguel's crew and steal his product. Jannard returns back to Shanti's spot at the gym, and he goes and tells her that he's running low on money and options, that it's not looking up for him. So it was sweet to see that she was willing to give up her last, it looked like stuff that she was saving, or maybe that her crew had given to her, who knows, but she did end up loaning him the money and said, I'm betting on you, so you're gonna have to come through for real. And then of course they end off with a little So in the next scene, we get Vic. He's leaving the police department. Remember from earlier, he got taken to the precinct because of his drunk driving, and it looks like his dad let him out. Walter is tired of Claudia, to be honest. He did not want to come to her with that proposition to begin with, so he goes back to Vic. He knows that Vic is pretty much going to owe him. Walter tells him nobody else can do this, and Walter ends up using the whole vulnerable method on him, and we know that Vic is just emotional right now. So everything that Da had said was exactly what he needed to hear, especially after Claudia hold him at the bar. So because he feels so much vitriol towards Claudia, he did tell Walter that I will accept your proposition only if you take Claudia out the picture. I want her completely gone and out of the organization. This is music to Walter's ears. I mean, look at him. He looks dumbfounded, only because I do think that it's starting to make a change with treating his children like children and separating them from the business, which is why he apologized to Vic, but hey, it is what it is. Meanwhile, Tommy and Diamond are out on 290 where Miguel's people were supposed to meet the Serbs. Of course, the entire plan goes as it was supposed to, and it is executed perfectly. Miguel comes up to that spot where his people were supposed to be at, and he sees the damage that was caused. I mean, oh boy, that was Miguel's right-hand man. So Miguel was pissed off. He was infuriated by this, and he went completely against what his boss had said as far as leaving the Serbs alone. Going back to Jannard and Shanti, this is Shanti's time to break it down to him that, hey, I'm glad that you were able to be safe. You were able to protect your organization in this time, but I want you to know that your people don't trust you. You got to do better. Like, I'm rocking with you and my people are always going to rock with you. But you need to know that people are starting to build up animosity towards you and how you're leading this group. And we go back to Vic, who is at the gravesite again, but this time he's on a different energy. It looks like he accepted Walter's deal just to get in the inside so that he can take Walter down. I think he's going to take the entire organization down along with Claudia. So I hate that Claudia had to catch a stray in that one, but like the episode's name is, that is a great consequence for what Claudia said to him at that bar. Now this part was really sad and tugged on my heartstrings because Tommy, I knew something was gonna go down while he was just sitting randomly at the corner eating his sandwich. It looks as though Jannard's crew caught him slipping and started to spray the entire area, including these innocent people, and an innocent child was gunned down. That really hurt my soul, especially with the mom being there. And I mean, this was exactly what Diamond was warning Tommy about. This was the war that he did not want on the streets, because now it's going to bring even more heat. And as we see in the car with the lieutenant and Stacy, the lieutenant is going to end up granting that task force after he finds out about this death. The superintendent in the city may not have cared when it was gangs going against gangs, but now when innocent people are hurt out in random places, in public places, on the streets, that's when we have a problem, because the city is now looking to us and it does not look good on us. Therefore, they're going to give the task force over to Stacy and give her exactly what she wants so that she can take down Tommy. And then the episode ends exactly how it came on, with a body laying down and the lieutenant looking in the reflection of the blood. This was such a well thought out episode. Cinematography has been crazy this season. I am in love. How they're arranging the scenes and how they're dressing the scenes. Everything is in place. Even the things that look out of place, it's just crazy. So it was cool to see that how the episode began was how it ended. And this is not going to be good for the city, and it's definitely not going to be good for Tommy. So I hope that they celebrate this short time, because it is definitely definitely going to be a short-lived celebration. So what did you think of this episode? I really loved this episode. Although it felt like a filler episode, there were lots of good nuggets and gems that I think is going to be used throughout the entirety of the season, and I am pumped and ready. So put in the comments down below, what do you think is going to happen after Tommy made this explosive scene happen? And Miguel, is Miguel going to get out of this season? I actually like him as a villain. I like the layers that they peeled back in this episode, but I don't know. Him and Jannard, it's not looking good for y'all. So write in the comments down below, and I'll see you next time on The Writer's Room.